Here, this is for you. Hold that. Take
Thank
that.
you. I also need the thing.
The thing? Oh, the thing.
The thing. Now are we ready
We're
to
gonna
start the day?
we're gonna start the day.
What are we doing today?
We're filming the best of 2024 video. So I found this Tumblr post. I found this Tumblr post from like 10 years ago from some random user that just has one of those like questionnaires of like questions for the new year. So I was like, I had the idea of like someone asking me those questions and asking follow-ups and all that stuff. And yeah, that's what we're doing. We're gonna, hopefully it's not, not too messy. Hello folks, welcome to another best of video. This is the best of 2024 and let's just get right into it. So this video is going to be a little different, like the past few videos have all been a little different. This time, instead of talking about the media in an objective sense and kind of explain what it is and then go into how it made me feel, we're gonna bypass all of that and we're just gonna go directly into how each thing made me feel, because I have, for most of these things, I have a specific story to tell about how it affected me in the moment I listened to it or watched it or played it or things like that. So that's what we're gonna do. And for the ones I don't have a story to tell, we'll just kind of quickly move through it and won't dwell too much on it. So yeah, that's what this video is gonna be. It might be a little cringe, it might be a little corny, but that's how I felt about a lot of these things, and we're just gonna keep true to that. This one's gonna be interesting, for sure, in terms of just like how I'm gonna go about it.
And would you think it's growth or just change?
I think it's both. I think it's definitely change. A lot of it's change. A bit of it is growth. I think a lot of it's a bit regression as well, but. That's a topic for a different segment.
Maybe a different video.
Maybe a different video. Okay, so let's start off with the best old segment, is what I'm going to call it this time. Normally I do, best old games in the game section, best old movie in the movie section, but I'm putting them all together this time. This is just the best old media section. So let's start with games. The best old game I played, Paper Mario, the original one for the Nintendo 64. This year was supposed to be the year of RPGs for me, the year where I play through all or most of the RPGs that have been sitting in my backlog. And while the majority of games I played this year were those RPGs, I didn't get through nearly as many of them as I wanted to, or as many games as I wanted to, and we'll get into that in the game section. But for now, I'm talking about Paper Mario because Paper Mario was maybe the only game this year that I was able to consistently play from beginning to end without much breaks in between. Because that's the only one where I was in the headspace to actually focus on a game and not be distracted by a bunch of other stuff, whether it be life happenings or other mental roadblocks that came my way. Yeah, I'm glad I finally played that game. Best old movie. For me, that's going to be Rice Boy Sleeps. Not much to say about this one right now. It's just something I happened to catch near the tail end of the past year, and I just really enjoyed it. There's a specific moment in that movie that involves like a Korean folktale, but it's about a mother and her son walking up a mountain. The scene that happens in is very heartwarming, but it ties in together with something that happens later in the movie, and I just really love when a movie kind of just like tweets itself out. It just like explains itself in a way that you won't know that's what it's doing until it happens later in the movie. It's just like a fun little like illusion kind of thing. All right, moving on. We're going on to my favorite old anime of the year, and that's Kimi ni Todoke. As so often is the case, my friends are constantly yelling up to me about a series that I need to get around to, and Kimi ni Todoke was one of them. And with season 3 coming out this past year, it was the perfect opportunity to go back and watch and experience seasons 1 and 2. And it turned out to be one of those shows that pulled the rug out from under me, because season 1 just very cute, very fluffy shoujo, a bunch of like romances budding and people trying to navigate that. That's sweet and that's fun and that's enjoyable. But season 2 was, for me, like pulling fucking teeth, because that's less about the fluffy romance stuff, and it was just all this tension because the main character couldn't just fucking do the one thing she could have done to solve all the problems, and I was screaming the entire fucking time. I'm just like, give him the fucking chocolates, mate. Just give him the fucking chocolates. It's just a gift you're giving to your friend. It's all you needed to do. And yeah, that was killer, and I did not expect to have that kind of reaction to that show based off the first season, but I really enjoyed it. And so to cap it all off, my favorite old record of the year is Janelle Monáe's Age of Pleasure. This one was another like latecomer, as I was like kind of gathering all the things I missed from the previous year and decided to play this. I'm a big fan of Janelle Monáe. Dirty Computer, I'm sure people who have seen this channel before have heard me talk about the Dirty Computer and how great that album is. But I happened to miss Age of Pleasure when it came out. This time, when I finally got around to it, I was really surprised because it's pretty different than Dirty Computer, but what I really liked about it was how it kind of just like flows all the way through. I had a very hard time discerning when a track changed. It's an album that's very easy to vibe to and just put on the background and just experience as it's coming through. It's just good tunes. And sometimes like, you know, sometimes albums like resonate deep with you on an emotional level. Sometimes they make you see things the way you weren't seeing before. But sometimes they're just good albums that are good to listen to. And this is one of those, at least for me on first listen. Maybe that changes down the road, but right now I'm just enjoying it as a thing that is a good like soundtrack to life. This is where I used to live. Anyone who's watched my videos knows a lot of this stuff very well. Like, it's familiar, but the crazy thing is I don't live here anymore. I moved. Here's what the old room was. It's not my room anymore. You know, like everything was shot like here. Like the streams were right here. The old set was right here. But now it's just my mom's office. You know, I had a love-hate relationship with this room, you know? Like it was like my space, but also it was like it felt very hostile sometimes. Both me to it and it to me. All right, so now we're gonna talk about games. So this year in games for me was different because, as you know, I tend to play a lot of games because I like keeping up with what's new and what everyone's talking about. But this year I barely play anything. I played a handful of things, but significantly less than I normally do. And that's because I just didn't have it in me. I either mentally, because I was going through a series of things, or just because sometimes you just find something that you like more than playing video games and you just keep doing that thing. This one's, there's not a lot as much to say this year, but I had a couple of things, so let's talk about those.
So what's something new about your place of residence now versus the start of the year?
Dude, that's like everything. Everything about my place of residence is new compared to where it began. Like I moved out. You know, I've been wanting to move out for like the longest time, years, and it just wasn't financially possible. I decided to start looking again, knowing I wasn't gonna find anything, but so a couple, like literally like 5 places, like 5 or 6 places showed up that were like in my affordability range. So I want to check them out, and it happened so quickly I couldn't even I couldn't even process it. But like it was I was looking at it one day, and the next day I was applying to apartments and getting apartments, and it was crazy. So my number 3 is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, the remake for Nintendo Switch. I had never played this game. That's a lie. I played it a little bit at a friend's house when it originally came out on the GameCube, but this is going to be finally my time to sit through it, play the entire thing, bang it out in like a week or 2, and just feel really good about finally finishing that game. And guess what? That game took me nearly 4 months to finish because there was a lot happening in between when I started it and when I finished it. This happened around late spring, early summer. During that time, there's something that me and my friends jokingly and lovingly call the summer crisis, but that definitely kept me from engaging with video games in general. But Paper Mario was the one I happened to start at that time, and I just could not focus on it. I would boot it up and play maybe 30 minutes here, an hour there, and I was just like, I need to stop. I need to put this down and do something else because my brain is rattling with 50 other things, and I cannot just focus on having Mario jump on a fucking turtle right now. So that was interesting, but throughout all that, I still managed to finish it and really enjoy it. It's one of the greatest Mario of the Mario RPG series. It's maybe one of the best ones. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and glad that it's finally in my little like done checkbox list.
Are there any good or bad habits you picked up along the way?
Like in the year of our Lord 2024, brother. Where do I begin? Yeah, I think so. I think the most obvious one to like anyone who's interacted with me in the past year is my propensity to go out and buy a bag of gummy worms when I'm not feeling my hottest.
Are they sour or regular gummy worms?
They're always sour gummy worms for whatever reason. Whenever I was in a specific mental state, I would go out and buy a thing of gummy worms and start just like chewing on them as if like the sugar filled a hole or something. I guess like another one, my propensity to talk around a subject as opposed to addressing the subject.
Wow, I would have never guessed.
My number 2 game is Balatro. So I know I just said that I had a bit of a difficulty of playing games this past year, but Balatro was the exception because Balatro was the game that helped me focus when I couldn't. It helped me just like tunnel vision my brain into like, okay, here's this problem we need to solve right now. It just really helped me concentrate at a time where it felt like I was being pulled in 50 different directions. Because it's a run-based game, after I did a run, I could just stop and go handle whatever else was happening. I wasn't locked into like having to play, a bunch of levels of big old boss fight. It's just something that, if I lost, okay, great. I can do another run if I have enough time, and if I don't, I don't. But yeah, Balatro, super fun, and it's my number 2. This is the Terrace, which we recently redid, like right in time for my birthday last year.
How was your birthday last year?
My birthday, it was great, to be honest. We had a little party right here. The first like real big use of the of this space. Yeah, we just had a handful of people come in and we played some games and did some karaoke. And in retrospect, it was like a really good like signal of how the rest of the year was gonna go.
How so?
I don't know. It's nice. It's nice to like to just like go out and enjoy other people's company. These very positive things just fuel this need to make other positive things and put that out in the world and just share it with people. Like, what's the point of feeling this good if you can't share it with the people who you care about, right? So my number 1 game is Persona 3 Reload. Persona 3 was my first Persona game, the first Persona game I ever played. So it holds a special place in my heart. So I won't lie that I was a little wary when I heard they were remaking it. I didn't think it would be a bad experience or a negative experience. I thought it would be just fine, but I wasn't sure if it would hit the same emotional notes as it did back then. And whether it be because I'm older now, life experiences are different and have changed, but not only did it hit those notes, it hit them 10 times harder. That game is a game about pushing through what seems like insurmountable obstacles only to come out the other end, all because of the help of the people around you. The main focus is death. Death comes for us all. The tagline of the game is Memento Mori, remember we are mortal. And despite having that looming over all the characters' heads at any given moment, they keep pushing to live their lives the best they can. The ending, especially with Persona 3 back in the day, hit me pretty hard, but it didn't happen immediately. It took a bit of time for me to really like grasp it, but this time playing it was, and part of that might be because they've added a little bit of extra flair to the ending, part of it might be some other life experiences that have come and gone, but playing through that game this time, I completely lost it. The themes of living life to the fullest, knowing the end is inevitable, and finding people to experience that life with you, finding someone who wants to be by your side through it all, someone who makes you feel like you understand what really matters to you, what you really want, those themes hit me 10 times harder now than they did back then. So yeah, Persona 3, that's the game of the year for me. Plain and simple.
Where are we going to next?
Let's hit up the Pillars of Miami Lakes, the little spot. So this is not necessarily a spot like I come to often. This spot has been a spot I would sometimes come to just sit. I've only come here maybe a total of like 4 times total in like the past 10, 12 years or something. But I think about the spot every now and then. All right, let's talk about movies. I wasn't as excited about movies this year as I was the year before, but that's not fair to the medium, I guess, because like it's hard to follow some of the movies I had on my list last year. Last year was Past Lives, which was fucking crazy. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the movies from this year. So let's get started.
You participated in your first sort of exhibit where you got to show some of your photography.
Yeah. The theme of the room we were in, or the group room that all of us were showing at, was hometown. And I, for a bit, I kind of struggled how I would fit that theme with the kind of work I do. Because again, it's mostly portraits of other people. The one that actually like fell through the sky and like was like, this is the idea, was you travel a lot, you go to a lot of different places, but even within your own city. But no matter where you are, you tend to feel very comfortable in those places. And I realized a lot of that is because of the people around me. That's both like people who are close to me, friends, family, and also strangers I meet traveling who are just like very open to talk and share our travel experiences together. So that's what the piece ended up being. The piece ended up being a bunch of the portraits I took of these people, and we arranged them around a self-portrait I took of myself in the middle. My number 3 movie is Perfect Days. Perfect Days is such a lovely movie, and immediately after I watched it, it sat with me for a couple days, and some very specific like notes came to mind, and I ended up writing an unedited thing that could have been a full review if I sat down and really expanded upon it, but I decided to just write it as it is and leave that where it stood. So I'm just gonna read that directly to you. Look. The movie tweets itself out multiple times, especially with the post-credits text defining komorebi. It's not subtext, it's the text. So this all might sound very obvious, but it's what I kept thinking about for a couple days after watching it. This is such a lovely movie about living in the moment and finding the little happinesses in your life to keep you going. Perfect Days does this on 2 levels, both the moments the character lives in and how the film portrays those moments to get the feeling across to the viewer. I think that's why I connected with the movie the way I did, because this, trying to find the little happinesses in everything around you, is the thing I'm constantly chasing, on both those same levels too, in my work, particularly in my photography, and just in my day-to-day living. When I go out and shoot, I'm often trying to capture a feeling more than I'm trying to capture a subject, or rather, the subject and the feeling are tied together. That's why I so often shoot people living their daily lives. I'm saving that moment and those feelings. The way I felt watching this movie is the same way I feel looking back at some of my own shots. Seeing someone find their little happiness and saving that moment to make my own. The way Perfect Days shows us Hirayama's moments, and in turn how Hirayama tries to capture them for himself, is very much what I strive for when I'm behind the camera. But on the grander scale, for years, the idea of finding the joy in the little things has been a conscious push I've made in my daily life. Let's be real, waking up is hard. Existing is hard. But finding those little happinesses in the everyday things around you is what makes everything easier. Whether it be friends, food, hobbies, music, or just taking a moment for yourself, it helps you keep going. As much as I like to say that I'm able to do that every day, the truth is, I don't. I lose sight of that philosophy a lot. Sometimes you can't live in the moment. Sometimes your brain is stuck on something from the past or too worried about something from the future. Or sometimes living in the moment sucks because the moments themselves suck. But that's okay. Perfect Days makes that abundantly clear. You're not always gonna be able to do it. You gotta live through those moments to get to the next one. Through all the mundanity, through the darkness and the light, you will find those little happinesses. Enjoy them when you do.
今度は今度。今は今。
Next time is next time. Now is now.
So getting a lot of feedback on the work, has it changed your perspective on how you want to photograph, what you want to photograph?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is a definite yes. Like I said before, I had never done something like that. The whole point of that combining all those portraits together was like these are, people who have affected my life either in big or small ways.
People understand it pretty much.
People got it, and not only did they get it, they liked it. That was the more surprising part. It was less that they got it. It was more like, oh, like this is a really cool idea. People resonated with it, and that was nice. So now my number 2 movie, it's Look Back. I read Look Back back when the manga came out, and was floored, quite frankly. I adore that story. So when I heard they were making an anime movie for it, there was both excitement and also like, is it really going to capture that same feeling? And obviously it's never going to be exactly the same, but it got me. It still ended up getting me. There's two things about that movie, right? There's the artist perspective and just the struggle of putting all in the hours and seeing someone better than you and wanting to achieve that. But what really got to me was the connection between the two characters, the two main characters. Knowing the story beats of Look Back, I knew when things were coming and when the things were about to happen. So I was anticipating it, thinking that now that I know ahead of time, it's not going to hit the same way. But the moment, for example, the main character looks at the door, or the moment the slip goes through the door onto the other side, I immediately started tearing up because I knew what was about to happen. And the thing that really sticks with me is the final bit, the question, why do you draw? Both times I've seen the movie, that immediately got me crying. There's always something or someone that really drives a creative force in you. That initial drive, that feeling, it's something that starts from and comes from within you, of course. But when that sometimes just isn't enough, those other outside forces, that someone or something adds on to that. Why do you draw? Why do we make? We do it to share those feelings with the people, the things, the experiences, the world really, that gives those feelings to us initially. There is nothing like the feeling of having people in your life that make you want to do better, to do the thing that you're so set out to do. Yeah, Look Back's incredible. Go read it, go watch it.
Why do you do what you do?
Oh, why do I do what I do? A lot of it's for me, because that's how I make sense of the things around me. Both consuming media and making art, that's how I make sense of the world around me and my own feelings. But also, yeah, also because there's other people who make me want to share those feelings, you know? I often take photos of other people. That's like the thing I do. Generally, you can never see yourself the way other people see you, but I have the opportunity to show someone that. I can show them, this is how you look to me. Amazing, funny, like all these little things that the other person can't see for themselves because they have their own perceptions of who they are or anything like that. I can at least express a little bit, not the full way, but a little bit of what you look like to me in the best way possible. So finally, my favorite movie of the year, Robot Dreams. This movie's evil. So I watched this movie with a couple of friends, one friend who had already seen it and was urging all of us to watch it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I thought I was just gonna watch a fun little animated film about a dog and his robot boyfriend. But in fact, what I ended up seeing was this lovely but painful distillation of love, of finding the love you think you deserve and finding the love you actually deserve. I was screaming through parts of that movie, literally screaming into the microphone to the point where a bunch of my friends were like, we wish we recorded you watching this movie, because to us this movie is normal, but to you apparently it was a death sentence. Like what made this movie so painful to watch sometimes? It's just like, sometimes you look at two characters, you really want them to like be together and work things out, or there's something there, but you know it's not gonna happen. You know that they're going to be better off not in that position. But just like seeing that process happen is fucking painful. This is a crazy thing to say about an animated movie with no dialogue, but that's what makes the movie so special, is that they can really nail down those feelings through music, through animation, through facial expressions. It's a wonderful movie. You need to watch it, but also it's evil. Past Lives 2. So every night I walk, just to keep active, just to like have a little bit of exercise in my life. And when I moved, I had to find a new path, and this is the new path. I basically just go down all the way there, all the way back, and then walk back to my apartment. And that's about a little over 2 miles, and I tend to do that in about 30 minutes. It's a very relaxing part of my day often when I do this. There's actually it's a lake back there somewhere that I think we should at some point hit and like record some stuff there, because I think it might look pretty cool. So let's get into anime. I watched a lot of anime this year. In fact, there was a period of time where I watched, some might say, too much anime this year. I watched 17 shows one season. I'm fucked. That was the the worst mistake I made this entire year, probably. In retrospect, it was because I was in a certain mental state and I needed something to fill my time. I'm not doing that again. But let's just get into the shows that I really did like this year.
Is there an episode of a show that really defined the year for you?
Yeah. It's a show called Blue Box. The one I'm thinking of right now is episode 6. My favorite character, I'm so bad with names, so I call her Pinky because she has pink hair. She is spending the episode kind of denying her own feelings for a bit. You know, there's a bit where like she's like walking around like her school and she's thinking of a person. She's specifically thinking about like how amazing and how much light this person brings into their life. And then she starts crying and she's like, why am I crying? And it's like those kinds of moments in shows are the things that tend to get to me. Just like realizing your own feelings or knowing exactly what something is but not accepting it. Yeah, it's episode 6 of Blue Box. That's the one. My number 3 show is Senpai is an Otoko no Ko. This is a show that could have been switched out with another show for my number 3 pick, but as time went on, this is the one I kept thinking back to more than the other one. It's a show about being true to yourself. It's a show where characters are struggling to accept their own feelings. It's a show about characters struggling to even recognize what those feelings are to begin with. There was a particular time this past year where I was really going back and forth on being a bit introspective and trying to figure out why certain pieces of media were affecting me a certain way or where was a particular feeling coming from. I kept coming back to a couple of scenes in this show where the characters just have that own revelation for themselves. That is just the way they feel. They should be proud of that. They should be proud of the way they feel. They should be proud of who they are and not try to push it aside. And I'm not gonna say it was like this eye-opening thing, because it wasn't, but it was a reminder. It was a reminder that whatever I was trying to figure out, I needed to face it and not turn the other way and just pretend it's just gonna figure itself out.
Is there anything you learned specifically about yourself, do you think?
Yeah, I think I learned that as much as I look back at myself, as much as I am fairly introspective and tend to be pretty in tune with things I feel and processing all that information and feelings and all that stuff, so sometimes it doesn't come as easy as other times. Have I really learned that? I don't know if I learned it so much as I already knew it and just have to keep relearning it over and over again, you know? I don't know if that counts, but my number 2 is Dan Da Dan. I don't have a lot to say about this one because it's just a cool show. It's not like something that was super emotionally resonant or anything like that. I just really like it. It was animated wonderfully. I love Science Saru. They're a fucking incredible studio. I love the characters. I love the dynamic between Momo and Okarun. I love Gigi, who's a huge piece of shit, but man, he adds so much to the back and forth between everybody. It's just a fun show that I had a great time watching every week. And also the theme song is fucking banger, man.
Is there anything you had to unlearn this year? Or like anything you unlearned this past year?
I have to unlearn the feeling of guilt just for feeling something. I have to unlearn the feeling of being worried about coming off a certain way when all you're really doing is showing gratefulness for positive feelings. It sounds so stupid when you say it out loud. And now my number 1 show, A Sign of Affection. This is one of the first shows I saw this year. I saw it in early January. And look, I love a Reiwa era romance. You know that about me. It also ended up being one of those shows that felt like I got the rug pulled out from under me, like has happened with a few shows this year. It was something I thought was gonna be this sweet, fluffy shoujo kind of thing that ended up with me feeling it intensely. I love shows that are grounded. I love shows that deal with interpersonal problems as opposed to these dramatic back and forth romantic problems. And then of course, the extra layer that the main character has to go through because she's deaf. So like there's the normal emotional barriers you have, plus the barrier of her being unable to hear and speak. But what really got to me about this show, because as much as I was enjoying it day to day, it didn't really hit that really like tight emotional resonance until near the end. It wasn't until later in the year where I was going back and thinking about a bunch of the things I watched and saw this year, where I decided to rewatch an episode of the show for research. I tend to not rewatch things, but I wanted to rewatch an episode, in this case episode 2. And that episode killed me immediately. That's an episode that I saw initially and just went through it like a normal episode of anime, and then the second time I watched it was from like 0 to 60 on like the time to tears scale. Particularly the moment Yuki was struggling to decide how she felt about Itsuomi. She's wondering if this is something fleeting or this is something more intense, and her friend was basically just like, why are you worrying about it? Just pick one, and that's how you feel. You know how you feel better than anyone else. Pick one and go with it and run with it. Anyway, Sign of Affection, my favorite show. This is my apartment. This is where I live now, where I'm residing. It's cool. I like this. I ended up liking this place a lot, and I feel very at home here. Yeah, this is the studio. It's a bit of a mess right now because I'm actively working on it. Like there's these boxes that are going to go into this cabinet, and it's great to just finally have a space dedicated just to my work and not have to share it with the place I sleep. All right, folks, time to talk about music. Music has always been an important part of my life. I keep repeating that every year we do these videos, but every year it's always the least important part of the video for the past couple videos. Not the case this year. This year it's the most important, which is why I'm ending the video with it. The thing with these records is that any one of these records could have been on any part of the ranked list at any given moment. I had a hard time ordering what these records were because I like all of these about equally. So this is just the order I've decided for this video, but know that all these records could have easily been 1, 2, or 3. So let's just get right to it. I got a lot to say about some of these records. So I do this a lot. I just kind of like lay on the floor of the studio. And this has been a thing I've done for basically every studio I've worked in. Usually because of a like long day, if you're exhausted and like had a lot of like production stuff to deal with, sometimes you just like lay on the floor and like fuck. But like here I just do it because like we're on the second floor, so it's not fully the same thing, but like so it almost grounds you because like just like laying down, it's like feeling gravity pulling. It sounds so fucking hippy dippy, but like sometimes when I'm just like in my own head, I'll just do this. And I'll just like either maybe a song will be playing or something, but I'll just like sit with it until it comes out of my head.
Is there anything that made you cry last year?
Brother?
Is this where you cried last year?
No, I don't think. I don't necessarily only cry when I'm sad. I also tend to cry when I'm just like overwhelmed with emotion in general. There's a string of time where I was reading stuff and watching stuff, and like the littlest thing, like the littlest reference to an emotion or a character or something, it would get to me. Tying all those things together, there was a very clear through line between all of them. My number 3 record is Smile by Porter Robinson. So here's where I'm gonna talk about what me and my friends call the summer crisis. That's when this album came out. It's all happened all at the same time. So around the summer, I was going through my own fucking bullshit, as I tend to do, but I felt fine. I was saying I was fine. Turns out most of my friends didn't think I was fine, and they were right. So at one point I was having a conversation with a friend, and at some point they said something along the lines like, oh, you know, sometimes when the sadness comes, blah, 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 whatever. I respond, like, what are you talking about? I'm not sad about anything right now. They then proceeded to look me in the eye and say the words, okay, but I'm sad for you. And we laughed it off in the moment. It was very funny, but that stuck in my head. It was right around the time when the album came out, where I was listening to it for the first time the night before. I couldn't sleep that night. I was up till like, I think 7 in the morning. I maybe got some sleep right before I had to wake up to go to a doctor's appointment. And on the way back from it, I played the album again. This was my second listen, the first time I'm really listening listening to some of the songs and some of the lyrics. And the song Easier to Love You came on. That's a song about self-love, about being okay with what you feel, who you are, looking back and being honest with yourself. Something about the drive there, the lack of sleep the night before, the song, and that little dangling thread in my head from that previous discussion just made that song hit so hard where I was just literally sobbing in my car on the way home. And it was that moment where I had the realization of like, oh, they're right. I am not okay. I thought I was okay. I thought everything I was doing up to this point was me moving forward, doing the right things to help my own brain process whatever it needed to process. But in fact, what I was actually doing was running away and ignoring the actual thing. So that fucked me up for an entire day, and that's really what kind of led to the rest of the year, me kind of like really trying to like accept things as they are, or rather accept my feelings as they are, and just live with them, which is what caused a lot of me having a lot of more emotional reactions to the media I saw later in the year. But yeah, Porter's album is really important to me for that reason. And you know, there's other parts of it too. Like there's the song Russian Roulette. That's one of the earlier singles that came out before the album came out. The first time I heard that song, I was also like, it was literally the meme of like me crying in the club because that song is a fucking bop, but the bridge that just starts listing the things that keep Porter going fucking killed me.
I wanna kiss my cat one more time. I wanna thank my dad one more time. I wanna marry her one more time. I wanna live, I don't wanna die.
And then there's songs like Everything to Me, the last song of the album, which I think ties specifically into something else. So I'll get to that a little bit later in the video, but beautiful, beautiful songs. And I'm glad that album came into my life this year.
You know, now that I think about it, do you think moving to a new place, do you think that also helps give you more inspiration, like the space, like the time and space when you're alone?
I'm sure that's part of it. It has to be part of it. It just makes sense for that to be part of it. It's something I've thought about actively. No, not really. But I don't doubt that that is 100% an aspect of why things are just kind of like the way they are. You know, like change like breeds, you know, new ideas and all that stuff. So like, it's not a coincidence for sure. My number 2 record is Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. So this record is unlike the Porter record, which was an emotional experience tied to my first listens. The Sabrina Carpenter record is just a fucking fantastic record, like period. Not that there isn't stuff to emotionally connect with here, because there definitely is. So Espresso was like the song of the summer. It was huge, and I was so pleasantly surprised to see that despite how good that song was and how big that song was, damn near every other song on the album is just as good, if not better, than that song. You know, top to bottom, fantastic album. If the Porter album is one that I pick and choose a lot of songs to listen to throughout the year because they had an emotional resonance, Short and Sweet is one that I listen to all the way through a lot because it's just so good. I was able to see Sabrina Carpenter in concert this year, and it was genuinely the best concert I saw this year. Getting to that concert was a bit of a struggle because those tickets sold out basically immediately. I got really lucky to get a ticket. The goal was to have a couple of friends who are, to be fair, bigger Sabrina Carpenter fans than I am come along to that concert, but we just could not find tickets for them. So I ended up going to that concert, it should be someone else here, but it was an amazing show. And the trip itself was also fun. We hung out after the show and had fun up in Orlando where the concert was. But yeah, Short and Sweet, second best album of the year.
Do you want to touch a little bit upon the people you've been hanging out with in the past year?
Oh, look at you. So trying to get yourself into the video, huh?
A little bit.
I am surrounded by incredible people. People who not only are very easy to get along with, very easy to talk to, but also push me forward, both in like artistic ways and make me want to make more interesting things and stuff, but also in personal ways. This is like wanting to be better, wanting to try harder at things. Sometimes there are just some people in your life who make things feel amazing. And this group of friends for sure are part of that. My number one album of the year, Moon Music by Coldplay. Coldplay hasn't been this high on the list for about 3 albums. And I wasn't quite expecting Moon Music to be the one to do it, but I am so glad it is, and I'm so glad Moon Music came out at the time it did. Moon Music isn't my number one album because Coldplay is my favorite band. Coldplay is my favorite band because they often put out albums like Moon Music right as I feel like I need to hear them in my life. And that was the case this year as well with Moon Music. Sometimes you just find a piece of media, a song, a show, a movie, right when you're the most open to really accept what it's evoking. Something that makes you go, oh, that's the way I've been feeling, and just couldn't put it into words, or couldn't bring myself to put it into words that might be so obvious to anybody else. It's a weird coincidence that Moon Music comes out 10 years after Ghost Stories, my favorite album of all time, and an album that I also extremely needed to hear, and that it feels thematically similar but from a different perspective. If Ghost Stories is about internalizing your feelings, looking inside yourself, accepting the things you feel that start from a negative point and you turn them into positive things, Moon Music is about reaffirming the fact that you can look inwards from a better place than you were in the past, knowing there's still road ahead of you, knowing there's still room to grow, knowing there's still work to do. That is the first track of the album.
Once upon a time, I tried to get myself together, be more like the sky and welcome every kind of weather, be more eagle-like and find the flight in every feather. Once upon a time, but I'm still trying to get better.
I'm still trying to get better. This is why I wear this button sometimes. Some of you who've been watching for a long time have seen me wear this button a lot 10 years ago. I have since stopped wearing it constantly, but every now and then, like right now, I'm wearing it. It's a reminder. It's a reminder that it's okay to feel things. It's a reminder to look inside yourself. It's a reminder to just accept when you feel good and when you don't feel great, and learn from that. The album starts off posing a question. What are these feelings? What is this pull? Is there anyone out there to help when we need it? And throughout its runtime, it's exploring those feelings, looking for an answer. From Feels Like It's Falling in Love with its simple melody that builds into this bombastic outburst before coming back down and up again, just like those feelings so often do, to Jupiter about struggling how you feel but knowing in the end you should be proud of it, to I'm a Mountain, a song about picking yourself back up with the help of all the good feelings imbued by the people important to you, to Eterna about not knowing what these feelings are but running with them anyway because they make you feel amazing. And by the end of the album, it's quite literally yelling the answer to the question at you. Chris is loudly singing, "In the end, it's just love." That's Moon Music. There's also this song, All My Love, ostensibly a love letter to the fans, but also a general message of unconditional love to the people who helped you along the way. Which brings me back to Everything to Me from the Porter record. That song is also a love letter to his fans, but specifically there's a line in it that goes,
I shouldn't say I love you, I don't know your name, but I'll just say it anyway, 'cause it feels the same when it's you and me, and the air in between. Oh, me and all of you, nothing else in the room. This seems like it's everything to me.
he's talking to a bunch of strangers, his fans. He has that feeling, but he's afraid to call it love for whatever reason. But the truth is, that's what the feeling is, regardless of anything. If you feel that feeling, whether you think you should or not, allow yourself to feel it. There's no prerequisite to it. There's no tick boxes that you need to hit first. So embrace it. Love means so many different things to many different people. It's up to you to decide what that is for yourself. That's what I want to end the video on. That's what I think what the point of all of this is. It's all to say that things are just so much easier when you just stop trying to push things away like that and just share that feeling with the people you care about. And it's going to be ever so necessary, and say at the least the next 4 years, as an example. Not because of some naive notion that love is going to solve all our problems or anything like that. definitely not the case. We're gonna need to fight and fight hard for a lot of shit. But on a smaller scale, on an interpersonal level, when things seem extremely hard, count on the people close to you. And I've said this in other videos before, but let the people around you know you care about them. Very literally, or just through mundane, normal actions. All of this is to say, I love you. You watching this video right now, you helping me make this video right now, you, my family, my friends who have stuck by me all this time to push me forward, and the friends who have come and gone, who have shaped me into the person I am, the people who are so amazing that make everything shine brighter. I love you. And that's the video. That's the point. Bye-bye.
If you could send a message to yourself back on the first day of the year, what would it be?
Good luck. Good luck and strap in. Yeah, that's what it'd be. I'd say, brother, you have no fucking idea what you're getting yourself into, what this year's gonna be, but I promise you, it's gonna be good. The earlier you realize it, the sooner you realize it, the sooner you accept everything that's happening around you and just be okay with it, the easier everything is gonna be. Because it's gonna be a fucking wild ride and it's not gonna go away anytime soon, so enjoy it. So yeah, good luck.